everybody, Pat Huntoon here from Technique Junkies, and today I have a fun tutorial for you that uses Nuvo Gilding Flakes, a die cut, and a focal image stamp. It's a really easy technique, but it has some really cool effects to it. So let's get started. First of all, I'm using a Dari's Embossing Essential die cut. You can use any die cut that you want. You can make this full card. You can make a partial card. I'm doing a full card. And what I've done is actually die cut it from a piece of black paper. So this has been die cut. It's a nice lattice worth die cut. I thought it was just really pretty. Then you take a piece of paper. Now I am using black. You can use white paper too. And I put this through my Xyron. I have a Xyron that adds adhesive to one side of the piece of paper. You can also use carpet tape or double-sided tape for that too, or double-sided paper. The important thing is you want to get adhesive on one side. So I'm going to pull this off of here and actually cut this down. I'm going to just eyeball it here. I'm going to be putting this on here on the other side, on the adhesive side. See how I have a little overhang there? I'll just trim that off. I'm not worried about the overhang. I'm going to do all the trimming on the overhang there. So let me pull this off the adhesive. Now that this is trimmed down, and you can see the adhesive side of this, you want to be careful not to touch that too much because you will remove some of the adhesive potentially, depending on what kind of product you're using. So now I have my die cut on top of my adhesive. Can you see that? And before I start, so I don't make a mess of myself, I'm going to trim this extra part off here. I'm not going to worry about the excess on this side. I can do that. I can fix that at the end. It's just this part here that will either waste product or get it all over my fingers because I'm a hot mess. So I'm just going to cut that off. Now I'm just going to add gilding flakes to this. The gilding flakes come in these jars, and if you've watched me before, you could feel free to skip through this part. But this is like a clown car. There's so many gilding flakes in here, and if you use it directly from the jar, you waste a lot of flakes. So what you need to do is take your flakes, crazy gilding flakes, and put them into another container. And I use these little takeout boxes. I have some mixed colors in here. This is my mixed grill, what I call mixed grill, so it's a mixture of colors. And what I'm going to do is just take some out, and I'm going to do this. I'm just going to pull it apart and add them to this. See how I'm pulling them apart? What you want to do, they make these in nice long sheets, and then they pull them apart and they shove them into these jars. But if you have a section, let me see if I can find this. See how those are all together? If you use those together, you waste half your gilding flakes. So you want to do that. I'm just going to close this up. I'll add more if I need it. And I'm actually going to mix mine around. Get a little mixture going on there. I mainly have copper and gold in here. I could add silver, but for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to take my piece of paper and I'm going to create a little tray. So I'm just going to fold over the edges and fold over the edges. Just kind of collect as much of this as I can when I'm putting it on here, so that I don't get it all over. Don't work under a fan, and for goodness sakes, don't breathe or sneeze. You'll have it all over the place. It is a little bit messy as far as materials are concerned, but it's worth every second of mess, I think. Mess can be cleaned. That's what they made brooms for. Not that I use a broom. All right. And the only thing I use a broom for is to fly. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to take these gilding flakes. You can see I'm pulling them apart because there's a big chunk here, and I don't want to waste that. And I'm just going to put it down all over my paper. Now, I'm going to start with that much. I'm going to add a little more gold. I'm going to start with this much, and then I can always come back and add more. Like I said, I don't want to waste it, so not that it wastes. That's an awful lot. So it's on there, and I'm just going to burnish that down with my fingers. Get it in all those holes. All those lattice parts. So here's a tip. You always want to burnish with your fingers first before you go to a brush, because what happens with a brush is that it does push it down. And when I'm talking about brush, I'm talking about a stencil brush, and I'll be doing that next. But you want to use your fingers first, because when you use your fingers, you don't tear apart the gilding flakes as much as you do when you use the brush. So you want to do the first burnishing with your fingers. Get as much off as you can with your fingers. Okay, so you just kind of finger brayer that. You can already see how this is going to turn out. It's going to be beautiful. So you want to finger brayer that, get most of that off. Now this is the part you want to save. You want to take all these little pieces, and they're not so little, and you want to put it back into your container and save those for the next use. And then this is the part where you have to do. You have to close up your container right away. Then they don't get all over. So now I'm going to work back on this tray and take a stencil brush. Okay, so this is a stiff brush. You just want to use a semi-stiff or a stiff brush and then go over the top. And you're going to burnish that again. Now these little pieces that are coming off of here, I don't reuse those. They're too small. They almost look like dust. If you put them down, they lose their sheen somewhat. You want to use a little lighter touch than you did with your fingers because you don't want to brush the sheen right off of these. It's the difference between brush metal and metal. Okay, so you want to get that fully burnished. Now, look at how beautiful that is. And you saw me, and it only took me a minute or two. I'm going to be cutting this down. I'm going to be adding this. I used to have Hopes and Dreams. Now I have Cocktails and Facebook. This new August Technique Junkies stamp, and the card will be finished. That's the end of our tutorial today. If you did enjoy this tutorial, please give us a thumbs up on Facebook and consider subscribing to our Facebook channel. I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by today.